Hello, I am in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. We are beginning Review 3. Review 3. This is in the workbook, page 1154, part 1 of the workbook. Our third review begins today. We will review 2 of the last 20 ideas each day until we have reviewed them all. We will observe a special format for these practice periods, which you are urged to follow just as closely as you can. We understand, of course, that it may be impossible for you to undertake what is suggested here as optimal each day and every hour of the day. Learning will not be hampered when you miss a practice period because it is impossible at the appointed time. Nor is it necessary that you make excessive efforts to be sure that you catch up in terms of numbers. Rituals are not our aim and would defeat our learning goal. What turns the practice into a ritual is to make excessive efforts to be sure that you catch up in terms of numbers. For this implies that there is a magical power in the sheer quantity of practice periods you do. However, trying to follow the practice requirements just as closely as you can is what you are being asked to do, and it is not ritualistic. It is not ritualistic. But learning will be hampered when you skip a practice period because you are unwilling to devote the time to it that you are asked to give. Do not deceive yourself in this. Unwillingness can be most carefully concealed behind a cloak of situations you cannot control. That you cannot control these situations is only what you tell yourself. The truth is, as the next sentence says, is that you establish these situations in order to uphold the camouflage for your unwillingness. Learning to distinguish situations which are poorly suited to your practicing from those which you establish to uphold the camouflage for your unwillingness. Learn to distinguish situations which are poorly suited for your practicing from those which you establish to uphold the camouflage for your unwillingness. I would frequently in the past use work as an excuse. Those practice periods which you have lost because you did not want to do them for whatever reason should be done as soon as you have changed your mind about the goal. You are unwilling to cooperate in practicing salvation only if it interferes with God's you hold more dear. You are unwilling to cooperate in practicing salvation only if it interferes with God's you hold more dear. When you withdraw the value given them, allow your practice periods to be replacements for your litanies to them. A litany is a liturgical prayer in which the officiant recites a series of petitions, and then the people respond to each of these with a fixed recurring response, which I'm very familiar with. The word has also taken on the negative meaning of any lengthy list or tedious recital. In the above passage, the things you do instead of your practice periods, because you think those things will deliver more happiness, are referred to as tedious litanies you recite to the gods you hold more dear than salvation. They gave you nothing, but your practice periods offer you everything. Accept their offering and be at peace. The format you should use for these reviews is this: devote 5 minutes twice a day or longer if you would prefer to contemplating the ideas as assigned. And I'll do a meditation for each of these as well. Read over the ideas and comments which are written down for each day's exercises. Then begin to think about them quietly, letting your mind relate them to your needs, your seeming problems, and all your concerns. This practice is a variation on letting related thoughts come, which was formally introduced in Lesson 42, and which involves placing the idea into our mind and then stepping back and letting our minds spontaneously come up with thoughts that are related to it. Here, however, the related thoughts are specifically intended to speak to our needs, problems, and concerns. The process, then, is one in which the idea for the day inspires in us a thought that then directly addresses the difficulties we face. For example, of what these related thoughts might look like, see Review 2, where for each idea reviewed we are given 3 related thoughts to be used when specific difficulties seem to arise. I don't know where I left off. Sorry. Oh, there we are. Place the ideas within your mind and let it use them as it chooses. Give it faith that it will use them wisely, being helped in its decisions by the one who gave the thoughts to you. What can you trust but what is in your mind? Have faith. Have faith in these reviews. The means the Holy Spirit uses will not fail. The wisdom of your mind will come to your assistance. Give it direction at the start and then lean back in quiet faith and let it use the ideas you have given it as they were given you. You have been given them in perfect trust, in perfect confidence that you would use them well, in perfect faith that you would understand their messages and use them for yourself. Offer them to your mind in that same trust and confidence and faith. It will not fail. It is the Holy Spirit's chosen means for your salvation, and with His trust it merits yours as well. We emphasize the benefits to you if you devote the first 5 minutes of the day to your reviews and also give the last 5 minutes of your waking day to them. If this cannot be done, at least try to divide them so that you undertake one in the morning and the other in the hour just before you go to sleep. The exercises to be done throughout the day are equally important and perhaps of even greater value. You have been inclined to do your exercises only at appointed times and then go on to other things without applying what you learned to them. As a result, your learning has had little reinforcement, and you have not given it a fair chance to prove how great are its potential gifts to you. Here is another chance to use it well. In these reviews, we stress the need to let your learning not lie idly by between your longer practice periods. Attempt to give your daily 2 ideas a brief but serious review each hour. Use one on the hour and the other one on the half hour, so it's every 30 minutes. You need not give more than just a moment to each one. Repeat it, then allow your mind to rest a little time in silence and in peace. Then turn to other things, but try to keep the thought with you and let it serve to help you to keep your peace throughout the day. I would suggest writing one of the ideas on a sticky note. Write them, each of them, on separate sticky notes. Put the one to review on the hour on the left side of where you work, and then the one to review on the half hour on the right side. And just set your timer every 30 minutes. If I don't set my timer, I won't do it. That's definitely... I just don't do it unless I happen to be looking at the clock and it's on the hour or half hour. So I would definitely I'll be setting my timer every 30 minutes. If you are shaken, let me see. But try to keep the thought with you and let it serve to help you keep your peace throughout the day. If you are shaken, 185, This means if your peace is shaken. This paragraph, in other words, is talking about response to temptation practice, in which you repeat the idea in response to your upsets in order to dispel them. I apologize. Sometimes I move the camera, I think, before you could be done reading. If you are shaken, think of it again. These practice periods are planned to help you form the habit of applying what you learn each day to everything you do. Do not repeat the thought and then lay it down. 186. In other words, do not repeat the idea on the hour or half hour, then forget about it. Rather, as it is said later in the paragraph, take it with you so that you have it ready for any upsets that may arise. Its usefulness is limitless to you, and it is meant to serve you in all ways, all times and places, and whenever you need any help. Try then to take it with you in the business of the day and make it holy. It refers to the business of the day. In other words, by taking the idea with us into the business of the day, we make that business holy. Worthy of God's Son and acceptable to God and to yourself. So take the lessons with us into the business of the day and make the day holy, worthy of God's Son, acceptable to God and to myself. Each day's review assignment will conclude with the restatement of the thought to use each hour, and the one to be applied on each half hour as well. Forget them not. This second chance with each of these ideas will bring such large advances that we come from these reviews with learning gains so great that we begin again on solid ground, with firmer footsteps and with stronger faith. Do not forget how little you have learned. Do not forget how much you can learn now. Do not forget your Father's need of you as you review these thoughts He gave you. And I'm going to read Robert Perry and Alan Watson. And this book is just totally thrashed now. This is now a separate piece. But this is the book. Commentaries on the workbook. This is part 1 of the book. It's actually a part of part 1 of the book. The other part is home. And this is their commentary on Review 3, Introduction Lessons of 111 to 120. And we are on 111 today. Introduction. Again, a review. Nearly everyone I know, especially when they first do the workbook, find the reviews either boring or frustrating. I like them, honestly. I really like them. It's an interesting testimony to the orientation of our minds. Apparently, we crave constant newness. And the ideas of repeating practice with the same ideas, even for just the second time, seems lackluster and mundane. I feel like I need as many reminders as possible. I think that's why I love them. We want to get on to something new and exciting. What we don't seem to grasp is that any one of these ideas could be the breakthrough for us. Toward the end of this review introduction, the reviews are called a second chance with each of these ideas. And I want to interject here because I don't feel, and I've been doing this daily. I've been doing A Course in Miracles daily since January of 2007 and have been reading Marianne Williamson's between 2003 and 2007. And I haven't experienced that breakthrough. To this, I think I'm blooming. I see myself as like a flower blooming with this, but I've not had like a breakthrough like this. But anyway, I just wanted to add that. Okay. So now I lost my spot. Okay. What we don't seem to grasp is that any one of these ideas could be the breakthrough for us. Toward the end of this review introduction, the reviews are called a second chance with each of these ideas. Now, if you are anything like me, you probably didn't rack up a perfect score in practicing the first time. Absolutely not. You forgot the hourly practices, you did only a few each day, and perhaps missed days entirely. And sometimes I would catch myself, it would pop up on my phone, and my mind will be on something else, so I wouldn't even really pause in it at all. I'd notice it, but I wouldn't pause in it. That happened a lot. So you forgot the hourly practice period, you only did a few each day, and perhaps missed days entirely. So think of this as a second chance to get the benefits of each lesson. I know I'm thinking of it that way, and I need it. Yeah, I need as much help as possible. That's why I do these videos. They hold me accountable, and they help me so much. So see, it's all about me. The Review 3 introduction is one of the most important discussions of workbook practice in the book. The attitude toward practice portrayed here is extremely informative. First of all, following the instructions literally is as given, and doing the 2 5-minute practices with short practices on the hour and on the half hour is considered very, very important. We are urged to pay attention to the instructions and to follow them just as closely as you can. An attitude that says it doesn't matter how you do the lessons clearly doesn't fit with this admonition. Second, the author is being very reasonable. He recognizes that it may be impossible for us to literally carry out the instructions in an optimal way. For example, a mother caring for her very young children may not be able to stop every half hour and close her eyes. A clerk in a retail store may not be able to get away from customers for a minute every half hour. Learning will not be hampered when you miss a practice period because it is impossible at the appointed time. So if you miss because it is impossible to practice, that's okay. Notice, however, the word impossible. It doesn't say inconvenient or awkward. It says impossible. The key to whether or not our learning will be hampered is not whether or not we actually do the practice, but why we don't do it. Is it because we can't or because we don't want to? Notice also that we aren't expected to make excessive efforts to be sure you catch up in terms of numbers. To me, that implies that making reasonable efforts to catch up is something that would be proper. So if I miss at noon because I'm talking with my boss, but I'm free at 12:15, it would make sense to stop for a minute and make up that missed practice period. But the goal is not ritual. It isn't about doing it perfectly. The crux of the matter is our desire and our willingness, not the number of practice periods. We aren't to become obsessive about this stuff. And there's no guilt. That guilt totally cancels it out. It cancels it, what we do out. Third, the author obviously understands our ineptitude and resistance in regard to practice. Skipping a practice period because we don't want to do it or I don't feel like it will hamper our learning. Again, I say this statement is hardly consistent with any thought that following instructions doesn't matter, and that it's enough to just read over the lesson in the morning. He takes particular pains to point out the ways we deceive ourselves, hiding our unwillingness behind a cloak of situations you cannot control. He points out that many of these have been subtly engineered by ourselves to camouflage your unwillingness, and urges us to learn to distinguish these from situations that are truly poorly suited to your practicing. I have often found that the times when I just do it, even when I don't feel like it, are often the ones in which I have the deepest awareness of a shift in consciousness occurring. Lest some of you Lest some of you feel offended by all this, let me say that it's perfectly okay to just read over the lesson in the morning and forget about the practice directions. Just be aware that this is what you are doing, and that it is your choice. That it is your choice. Don't fight yourself. If you really don't want to do the practice now, don't do it. This type of disciplined practice may not be what you need right now, and there's no mistakes. You may not be ready now, but you will be later. Perhaps you'll find another spiritual path. But don't think you can pass judgment on the course and say it didn't work for you unless you do the lessons as instructed. If you do them, they will work. Yes. Notice, too, that the practices you deliberately skip because you did not want to do them for whatever reason should be done as soon as you have changed your mind about your goal. This kind of missed practice you should try to make up. Why? Your practicing can offer everything you want. I'm sorry, I'm very congested this morning, so I will be right back. Okay, thank you. I think it's allergies are pretty bad right now, and I just feel like my head's all congested. So, your practicing can offer you everything you want. The middle part of the introduction gives us a fascinating instruction in having faith in our own minds. We are supposed to allow our minds to relate the ideas we are reviewing to our needs, concerns, and problems. The picture you get is almost one of free association, placing the idea in our mind and then seeing where it leads us. Jesus asks us to give faith to our mind that it will use the ideas wisely. This seems to be designed to counteract our self-doubt. Perhaps we think that left to range freely, our minds will wander off into the forest of ideas and get lost. But we are helped in our decisions by the one who gave the thoughts to us. That is, the Holy Spirit. If we wander, he will guide us back. In this kind of exercise, we are learning to trust our own inner wisdom. The wisdom of your mind will come to your assistance. If what comes to mind is a paraphrase of today's idea, let it come. Often your own paraphrase of the idea will be more effective for you than the original form, and it will stick to your memory much better. The final portion of the introduction returns again to general practice instructions and what might be deemed a pep talk. The emphasis in the part is on bringing the ideas into application in our lives all day long. These practice periods are planned to help you form the habit of applying what you learn each day to everything you do. Do not repeat the thought and lay it down. Sounds familiar to me. If nothing else, this review superbly exposes all the little tricks our minds have been using to avoid the benefits of the lessons. Don't let that discourage you. Just becoming aware of the devious ploys of the ego's resistance is a major advance in the curriculum. But don't stop there either. Now that you are aware of the ego's tricks, you can turn the situation around and begin to let the ideas of the lessons serve you in all ways, all times and places, and whenever you need the help of any kind. And just in case we miss the point, look at how the review introduction closes. I've added a little emphasis here to make the point even plainer. Forget them not. Do not forget how little you have learned. Do not forget how much you can learn now. Do not forget your Father's need of you as you review these thoughts he gave to you. All right, and here are the practice instructions. Review 3 practice instructions. The purpose of this is a second chance at the last 20 lessons in which you can practice them more diligently and which can carry you so far ahead that you will continue your journey on more solid ground with firmer footsteps and with stronger faith. Please follow the format below as closely as you can. If you miss a practice period, either the long ones or every half hour ones, because you simply couldn't do it at the appointed time, your progress is not hindered. Don't worry about making those ones up. If, however, you miss because you just didn't want to give the time, your progress is hindered. Those ones should be made up. You missed because you thought some other activity would deliver more. As soon as you remember that your practicing can offer everything to you, do your make-up practice periods as a statement that your real goal is salvation. Okay. In deciding if you should make up a practice period, be very honest with yourself. Do not try to pass it off. I didn't want to practice as I couldn't practice. Okay, so do not try to pass off I didn't want to practice as I couldn't practice. Learn to discern between situations truly unsuited to practicing and those in which you could practice if you wanted to. And I think we all know internally which those are. All right. So I'm going to do the meditation. I'm going to record a separate meditation for each lesson, review lesson. But this is what I'll be doing, or the outline I'll be following. So the 2 longer practice periods, one in the morning and one in the hour before sleep, the first and last 5 minutes of your day. Okay, so we'll read over the 2 ideas and the comments about them so that the ideas are firmly placed in our mind. And close our eyes and begin to think about the ideas also related to the thoughts that come. So you should remember both of these practices from earlier lessons. This time, there's a special twist, an important twist. Let your mind search out various needs, problems, and concerns in your life. As each one arises, let your mind come up with thoughts related to the ideas. Thoughts which apply to the essence of those ideas, to the need, problem, or concern. Let your mind creatively apply the ideas so as to dispel your sense of need, problem, or concern. So this is a more developed version of letting related thoughts come, in which this technique combines with response to temptation. There were hints of this in Review 2. See my comments on response to temptation in my Review 2 practice instructions. Remember your training in letting related thoughts come. Place the ideas in your mind. Trust your mind's inherent wisdom to generate related thoughts. This trust is a big theme in this review. Don't strain. Let your mind come up with thoughts. The thoughts need only be indirectly related to the ideas, though they should not be in conflict. If your mind wanders or you draw a blank, repeat the idea and try again. If you try this and it is just too unstructured for you, I have found the following more structured version to be useful. Let a need, problem, or concern come to mind and name it to yourself. I see this conflict with so-and-so as a problem. Repeat one or both ideas for the day. For instance, I am spirit. While repeating the idea, watch your mind for any sparks of insight that arise which apply the idea to your need, problem, or concern, and verbalize this insight to yourself. For example, as spirit, I cannot be hurt. I am totally invulnerable. And either continue with more related thoughts or go on to the next need, problem, or concern. And then our frequent reminders are on the hour and on the half hour. Repeat the idea on the one idea on the hour, the first idea on this half hour, the second idea. Allow your mind to rest in silence and peace for a moment. And afterwards, try to carry the idea with you, keeping it ready for a response to temptation. Response to temptation. Whenever your peace is shaken, repeat the idea, the one you are carrying with you from your last practice period. By applying the idea to the business of the day, you will make that business holy. Remarks. These shorter practice periods, frequent reminders, and response to temptation are at least as important as the longer. By skipping these, which you have tended to do, you have not allowed what you gained in the longer practice periods to be applied to the rest of your life, where it could show just how great its gifts are. After your longer practice periods, don't let your learning lie idly by. Reinforce it with frequent reminders every half hour. And after those, do not lay the idea down. Have it poised and ready to use in response to all your little upsets. In this way, you forge a continuous chain that reaches from your longer practice periods all the way into the hustle and bustle of your day. Now that is review 3, and I'm going to stop here, and we'll do the lessons separately, and I will do a meditation for each lesson, 5 minutes to be used at the beginning and end of each day. I thank you for joining with me. I feel like my reading was a little cut up today, so I apologize for that. And let's get started with the lessons. Thank you. Love you. Thank you for joining with me.